to it. We are live now. What is up? I've been talking to myself this whole entire time. What's up, everyone? John Mediana here. It is so good to see y'all. All right, so welcome to the webinar. Super excited to dive into this one. It is all about how to find your niche and niche. How do you pronounce it? Who knows? YouTube it, Google it. Well, who knows? Call it whatever you want, but we're going to find your niche today. And we have a lot of slides to go through. I hope that this webinar is impactful and just jam-packed with value. And yeah, so I'm super excited. We're going to dive into it. All right, here we go. So in this webinar, we are going to find your niche. We're going to go through a few things here. Where to start, niche mining, no one wants to buy, now what? How to be in demand. Riches are in the niches. Don't fall in the ditches. Stop selling pitches. Man, I'm in LA. I feel like I need to go into a studio and lay down some tracks. Save me 16 bars. Yeah, anyways. And the last one is going to be AMA, which is Ask Me Anything. So if we have not met before, my name is John Mediana. Who am I? Well, I'm a family person. I love my family. And I love what I do, and it's awesome and it's fun. But before I had a family and before I did what I did, well, guess what? I started off in MySpace. I've been a marketing practitioner since MySpace circa 2003. Don't laugh at these photos. I mean, I was an emo kid, but I accidentally fell into marketing, and it's where I learned coding and HTML and, do all the things, with the scrolly things, and you can make it look like, whatever you want. So a lot of people will say that they're marketing gurus or they're marketing experts. I don't consider myself an expert. I've just been practicing the arts of communication and attention and creativity since MySpace, even before that, actually, and we'll find out that soon really much. And I went into film school, actually. So from MySpace, I went into 6 years of film school. This is just a little bit about me, so you know who's going to be dropping the wisdom in the webinar today, right? So I just want you guys to get to know me a little bit. So I went to 6 years of film school because what propelled me was seeing another Filipino on the big screen. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's another Filipino pursuing their dreams. Do you mean that I don't have to be a male nurse? I can be something else. I could go and pursue my creativity. That is amazing. That inspired me so much. And for real though, like, he was a big inspiration for my life. This is actually, this is my Halloween costume every single year since I was 10. No, I'm just kidding. But he inspired me to pursue creativity. And if you don't know Dante Bosco, obviously Rufio, exactly, Mary Grace, Rufio. But for real though, he inspired me. And from that pursuit, since marketing in MySpace, I went into this pursuit, got to work with a ton of big influential personal brands. And that was really my journey, especially being born and raised in LA. I was in proximity with the industry. And as I started using my tools and started practicing, marketing and creativity, filmmaking, photography, I really just worked my way through the industry and really got into circles and spaces that I had no idea what was coming. It was just a surprise to me because it was just building off of relationships and reputation. So today, we're actually recently too, I was also able to rebrand the entire city of Las Vegas. So from that journey, from MySpace to rebranding a whole entire city, changed the slogan from what happens here stays here to what happens here only happens here. That's been a little bit of my journey, when it comes to marketing and finding and launching businesses in between, and then really honing in on your niche. So I spent 2 decades really sharpening the tools of finding out, how do I focus all my attention? How do I focus my efforts in building something that's meaningful and finding my niche and make a profit doing it? So today I'm going to share with you all the things that I've learned, because it matters. So my question is, why does that matter? Because I want you to know, wherever you're at on the roadmap of success, whether you're just beginning or you're in year 2 or you're an expert, you've been doing this for a decade and it's kind of constant. Why does this matter? It's because we're always practicing, that we're always practitioners. So I want you to leave this webinar understanding that you're not going to get a magic pill formula of transforming your business. You're going to get a lot of tools. You're going to get a lot of things that's going to help you to continue the practice and art of narrowing down your niche, finding it, and making a successful, I can't even speak today, successful approach to make an impact with your business and what you're doing in life. So let us go on. Just a fair warning before we dive into this webinar and these slides. Everything that I will talk to you about today is all my own opinion, and you got to do your own research. And it's just from years and years of experience. And this is just kind of all the things that I kind of gathered specifically in this area of finding your niche. So take it with a grain of salt. And I'm not saying you're going to get the same results, but if you apply these things that I teach you in this webinar, you're going to see some success, at least by putting in the work. Okay, so make sure you do the work. All right, here we go. Okay, so it's a story time for me. When I first started in creativity, I told you about MySpace, but really every photographer's journey, I think personally, every photographer's journey starts with weddings. And I was a wedding photographer in the very beginning because I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, oh my gosh, like I just need to cut my teeth in this photography thing. I know that I was, really creative. Like I used to do skateboarding photos and film skateboarders. All my friends were semi-pros and all that stuff. And when I started doing actual business and trying to find, what's my lane as a photographer, I went directly to weddings, and I realized within like the first couple weddings that I just completely hated it. I was not a wedding photographer. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. And, throughout the years in the industry, I started finding out, okay, what else do I love? What else other than wedding photography? I started slowly climbing and started focusing on portraits and started doing, work. With the more work I was doing, I was like, okay, I definitely don't want to go weddings. Can I do other stuff like photography for portraits, for headshots, for people? I love working with people. So maybe I'm going to go that route, but what does it look like to work with people? And then I started getting to do work with like Revlon, E-Entertainment, just trying to figure my way through this whole thing. So it was a journey for sure, and understanding who I like to work with, what skill sets do I want to develop, and techniques, what techniques am I willing to spend time sharpening. And those things, when I started growing up in my 20s, I started wearing all these hats. Like if like any photographer or creative, you don't have one idea, you have a million ideas. And the idea is that you can do a million things. Right. So today I really want us to take away that you need to start taking off those hats and get really clear. Like, yes, if I have a camera, if I own a camera, I could do a million things. Right. I could do weddings. I could do, product photography. I could do headshots. I could do, really nice landscape artistic photography. You could do a million things, but it's about getting clear. So if you're in your business, if you're doing real estate, if you're doing, insurance, or if you're doing something else in your niche, what are the things that you gotta narrow it down and become a specialist instead of a generalist. So when we first started when I first started as a unseasoned creative, I wanted to do all things. And I put on my website, hey, like I could do weddings, I could do events, I could do headshots, I could do this. And I was like, oh man, the more I stack these hats, the more value I think I'm going to create. And in fact, that was the opposite effect. So let me explain to you why it was the opposite effect. When you see a whole laundry list of stuff that you could do as a business, like, okay, like let's say you do speaking of laundry, let's say laundry, right? Let's say you have a laundry service, and you're like, okay, well now I could knit and I could do this and I could do this. And it's like, well, what exactly are you good at? It just doesn't. If I had a specific need, am I going to go to a generalist, or am I going to go to a specialist? So, I started playing around with these ideas and starting to take off these hats, and it brought a lot of clarity. So like, for instance, if I was a company that was shipping out bottles and I needed to get stuff, my bottles photographed because that's the money maker, am I going to go to Joe Schmo and like who has a camera, who happens to do wedding photography, who happens to do, studio photography? They do all kinds of things, and they're really good at what they do. Am I going to go to them, or am I going to go to a specialist? So imagine if there was a website called, We Shoot Bottles. By the way, it's a real website. Would you, if you were an owner of a company that needed product photography, would you go to Joe Schmo or would you go to a specialized website called We Shoot Bottles? They have a process. Everything that they do from start to finish, they show you the step by step thing that they do. They have one process. All they do is shoot bottles all day. They get the bottle shipped to them in the studio. They start prepping it. They go through a creative process. Then they start producing the photos. They edit. They ship the bottle back, and they send all the finals back to the company. Who would you rather trust, right? The person that has all the hats or the person that focuses on one thing? I had to learn this the hard way. So when I'm thinking about finding your niche, it's not about selling as many things as you can. It's narrowing down an industry and a thing that you love to do and tying that to the market, which is like, who is buying? Is there a demand for my need? What demand is there? We're going to go through those things in this webinar. I have a lot of things to share with you, and I'm really excited. So, who would you go with? Would you go with the bottle people or would you go with Joe Schmo? I don't know. Leave a comment. Put it in the comments. I would go with Joe Schmo. One for Joe Schmo or one for the bottle company. All right. So let's start. Where do we start? And this is really important because, there's a famous TED Talk and it's start with your why. But may I just put my take in and just say that's like the worst place to start. You want to really get clear on your mission. You want to get clear on your process. You want to get clear on how you deliver a solution. You want to get clear on who you're serving, what audience you're building. You want to get clear on the industry and who's in the market. You want to get clear. There's a lot of things you need to get clear on because this is going to determine whether or not you found the right niche that you can actually make money from. Because at the end of the day, a business is designed to convert and make money. Now, if you tie that with a mission, that's just an incredible mission and journey to create impact with your business, and you've done successful. But everybody likes to start with their why, and I get it. There was a big TED Talk. It's probably the biggest TED Talk on the planet, and it is about your why. And the idea with that is like, okay, I know my why. I think everybody knows their why. They have an idea of their why and what they do. I don't think that's the hard part. I think that when you're thinking about your why, it is just the wrong answer. It's the wrong mindset to start with. If you're going to start this journey in finding your niche, do not start with your why because you could pull that thread for years and years and years. You could spend 5 years thinking about your why and have not yet made one penny from your passion and what you're passionate about. So I think that starting with your why is the wrong approach and wrong answer. I'm going to share with you what the right answer is, what I think might be the right answer. So this is my answer here. And I think that the question is, what do you want? That is the first question you should ask when you're trying to niche down on what you want to do in your business. Maybe you already started a business and you're like, oh man, I got to niche down. I got to find my audience. I got to get more sales going and I just can't. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's not clarity. Maybe I don't have a clear message. Maybe I'm just all over the place. And the thing is, like, the idea is you got to ask yourself, what do you want? What do you want? Right? It's such a simple question. But the idea is when you can define what you want, what are you looking for, you can pull that closer in proximity to what you're achieving with your business or what you're about to start, your startup business, your idea. I had like 70,000 business ideas. I probably executed on 7 of them in my lifetime, and I have failed on most of them. And I found the ones that were really successful is when I had clarity on what I wanted out of the business, what I wanted out of the relationships and communities that I've built. So the current formula, when I ask people what they want, this is the typical sentence or common, it could be different renditions, but this is like a common answer that they give me. Well, I just want to help people, John. I just want to create impact, John. I want to help people make money, John. And that's typically it's funny, right? Like, it's funny that it's like, oh yeah, I said that before. I said that before a bunch of times. That was like my mantra. I was like, oh man, I just want to help people. I want to create impact. I want to help people make money. And then I'm like broke. I'm like, man, I can't help people make money if I'm not making money. Right. So The idea is you have this very vague and loose terminology, right? It's very unclear. It's vague. It's underwhelming. When you talk to somebody about it, they're like, uh-huh, oh, that's cool. Good job, buddy. Like, keep on keeping on, and that's the answer that you kind of typically get. So the idea here is we got to get very, very clear. Let's get very specific. Here's your new mantra. Okay. So take a screenshot of this. All right. Take a screenshot, write this down in your notes. But this is the formula. Okay. I desire to help customer solve the problem of physical pain by fixing what real problem they have using a real solution in X amount of time. That's the first top thing that you got to figure out. Okay. Why do we do this? Because you start saying it over and over and over again, and it becomes your mission. It becomes your reality. It gives you more clarity. The second sentence needs to be doing this. The customer can stop or avoid cost of doing nothing, right? You got to input the cost of doing nothing and achieve a physical desire, right, without an obstacle, because you got to understand that people are fragile. When they go to sleep at night, what are the things that they think about? What are the things that they stress about? What are the things that keep them up, physically keep them up at night, where they cannot sleep because they are worried, concerned about this outcome or something, whether it's making sales, whether it's purchasing a home, whether it's, what is it? And what in your business, in your industry, in your market, what problems can you solve for them? Their biggest, and that is going to help accelerate the process of making money with what you love to do and finding that niche. So let's figure this out. Okay. So let's take this formula and actually apply it. Let's just take real estate. Okay, so let's fill in the blanks. I help real estate agents solve the problem of constant no-shows by fixing their qualification and follow-up process using a 4-step booking confirmation process with Facebook ads in under 12 weeks. Isn't that specific? Isn't that really specific of what you do and how you could really crush it and how you could really solve some problems? It's not just like, I love meeting people. I love teaching them how to make money. Yeah, but make money with what? Like gambling, lottery, like business building. What is it? What is the mechanism that you're helping people with? The second sentence says this. This is the closure. This is the closing of the aha moment for them. This is like the feeling that's like, oh, that sounds real nice. Doing this, agents can avoid wasting time. This is the pain that they have when they go to sleep at night. They feel like they wasted another day taking another lap and not getting the right leads, not getting the right sales, not getting the right conversations, right? This is their pain. So you want to help agents avoid wasting time and opportunity on unqualified prospects costing them thousands per month. So now you're adding the money concept. You want to lose thousands a month and you want to waste your time? Those are the two things that just are the buttons that we push when it comes to helping people understand what you do and getting them to buy, right? Without needing to set up a complex CRM. So their biggest fear is like, I don't want to set up a complex system to get me this end result. I know I need to. I'm very aware that I need to set up some sort of CRM, right? Customer relationship management tool, right? But I don't have the time and I don't have the money. So if you're speaking to that audience member, if you're speaking to that person, this whole paragraph is like the gold, like the treasure in the gold rush, where you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Yes, whatever it is you got to sell me, like, I need to do business with you, obviously. So let's continue. All right. So here's another one for creatives, right? So if you're a social media manager, or you're into managing social media, or you're into marketing, right? Here's another one. I want to make 10. So you got to be very specific. You got to have clarity. I personally want to make, right? If you're a social media manager, I personally want to make $10,000 a month in passive income, right? That's a key word, by teaching small business owners how to use TikTok. So for small business owners, they want to what? Make money, right? But they're small, so they can't scale, and they're always looking for ways to make sales, but they don't put enough effort into marketing. They don't put enough spending. They don't even have, let me tell you this secret. Okay. Here's a secret. Small businesses, like 99%, don't have a marketing budget. And that is scary because you need marketing to make sales. If you have the greatest product on planet Earth and you're not marketing, no one knows that you have the greatest product on planet Earth. You're just like, oh, my product should just sell for itself. Wrong. Your product's not going to sell on its own. All right. I've seen this time and time again where business owners, small business, sometimes I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. Small business owners can have small minded thinking, right? You don't want to be a small business owner with a small minded thought. Okay, so you want to have this idea, okay, and chase it and make sure that you're putting money dollars behind your marketing. So let's finish this. I didn't even finish the sentence. I'm so passionate and hyped up about this. So I want to make $10,000 a month in passive income by teaching small business owners how to use TikTok for generating leads, growing their brand, and 10xing their income in 30 days or less. What does that say to the person on the other side that has a small business that isn't cracking 10K a month? Or that's you, right? And that doesn't understand TikTok, doesn't understand why you would be on TikTok. They're not generating leads and they're not growing their brand, and they definitely haven't 10x their income in 30 days or less. It's a timely approach to saying this is what I can do, and it's not about the product, you guys. It's not about the product you create. It's about the process that you create to get to help these people. Okay, people buy process, and if they can see your process, that builds trust. And if you have trust, you could sell. All right. So we got a ton of slides to go through. We're moving on. All right. Did that help? Get clear on your message. Write down that formula, put it in there, rehearse it, revamp it, redo it, continue to practice and practice and practice. So let's go into niche mining. All right. What is niche? What is niche mining? Niche mining is finding out what industry you are in and figuring out what your best superpower is in that industry so that you can utilize that and focus on that. Okay. So let me introduce you to my three friends, Tam, Sam, and Sam. All right. Tam, Sam, and Sam was walking into a bar. I'm just kidding. I'm so bad at jokes. It's, dad jokes for me. So Tam, Sam, and Sam, if you have seen this before, you'll understand what the market is in your industry. So if you're in real estate, if you're in retail, if you're in coaching, if you're in whatever, right, social media management, like you have to understand this basic principle that there are three circles in your industry, right? So number one, it's TAM. What does that stand for, John? It's the total addressable market. All right. So people enter in billion-dollar industries like influencer coaching or influencer marketing or, e-commerce, billion-dollar industry, right? Fitness is one of them, billion-dollar industry, right? So the total addressable market of the industry is $1 billion, but that doesn't mean that you're going to make $1 billion. Some people think, and they see the industry and they're like, that's $1 billion industry. I need a piece of that pie because it's gangbusters, right? Having an agency today running Facebook ads and all that stuff, that's $1 billion industry. But that doesn't mean you're going to make $1 billion. It just means like this is the addressable market, right? This is the total addressable market. Sam is serviceable available market. So that's like lower than the $1 billion industry. These are the people that you could actually service in this available market, right? So you got to think like, okay, so if I'm in the fitness industry, who can I actually service in the availability? Well, if I have a franchise, I could service a lot more people. But a lot more people in the industry they have a bunch of gym memberships wherever they are. So if you could service the service available market, it starts to close in when you're like, okay, well, I'm going to have a box gym, but I'm going to have a franchise. And it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be $500 million. And that's my available market as a franchise. All right. So that's the closing circle. The serviceable right here, the SOM is the serviceable obtainable market. So this is like your audience. This is the people that you could physically actually serve and obtain their customer, right? So you could obtain them as a customer, right? So it might be in the fitness industry, it might be a $1.5 million deal when it comes to obtaining their service and obtaining their contracts, which is huge. So you got to think of these things and you got to find out, okay, what industry do I really want to focus on? What industry do I gravitate towards the most. And when you do that, you can now narrow down, okay, let's be realistic. Who can I actually serve in this industry? Right. And when you do that research, when you start doing the work, you start recognizing, okay, I can now narrow down who I'm trying to talk to and create a message that makes sense to them to get them to buy and purchase my service. Okay. So here's the formula for investing your time and money. All right. Here's the formula. Write this down, screenshot it. Right. Number one, I think of how many people are going to purchase. So when I think of the Tam, Sam, and Sam, I think of, all right, how many people are actually serviceable? How many of them can actually purchase? How many people are actually going to purchase my product? And number two, I think of, is there a demand or profit potential for this, right? Is there a demand for it? So again, if you lean on understanding your why, that's again the most terrible first step, because you might be passionate about, painting acrylics on ceramics, right? And then you got to ask yourself, well, how many people are actually going to purchase this? Well, maybe like 5 and my mom on any given week, right? And then you got to ask, how long is it going to take for you to make it, right? So, and also, is there a demand for painted, handcrafted ceramics? Maybe on Etsy, right? Maybe you could spread your market a little bit wider and spread your reach by going onto a website like Etsy, right? And the last one is, what's the competitive dynamics? Is it oversaturated? Right, so we're talking about fitness earlier. We're also talking about real estate. These are really oversaturated markets, which isn't a bad thing. That means that they're doing really well. It's, in fact, if there's saturation in the market, that's good. I want you to think of what the competitive dynamics are in the saturated market. That means, who are my competitors? Who are they targeting? And what message and marketing are they using? Because marketing is warfare. Marketing is going to change everything in your business. So right now, if you're not thinking about marketing and you're not thinking about brand positioning, let me tell you, it's going to be a long road ahead. I need you to start thinking about how you use marketing and how you use branding and how you use those strategies. Okay. So this is the formula. You want to know how many people are going to purchase. You want to know if there's a demand or profit potential, and you want to know who the competitors are in this market. And if you could answer those questions, right, then you have a very, very high chance of creating a profitable business in 2022. Okay. We got through that now. So no one wants to buy. Now what? Let's just say you figured it all out. Okay. You figured out your product, you figured out your market, you figured out all these things, and you started building a brand, right? And you started doing the work. And it's, let's just say, like, no one is buying. You did all the work and you're like, no one's going to my website. You built the website for like 6 to 12 weeks, maybe even longer for some of us, right? 3 months. Maybe it took 6 months to finally get your website published. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I spent 6 months on this thing. And like, I even did the little pixels and like did all this stuff to make it. I did like this forum, and it took me, like, I had to YouTube all these things, and no one is buying. No one's going to your website. No one. Have you been there? Leave a comment in the chat if you've been there. Be like, man, that's me. That was me. No, I made this website. No one came to it. I did the blog. No one came to it. I posted on YouTube. No one watched it. I posted on Instagram. No one saw it. Right? How many of you ever felt like that? All right. This section is for you. Okay. This section is for you. So let's keep on going. I'm going to share with you the 4 strategies in marketing. If no one is buying, it's probably because your marketing is really, really sucky. Okay. Sorry for my foul language, but your marketing sucks. Bad. Sucks. It's not good because no one knows about it. So it's probably because you have no clarity on what marketing really is, because it's all about understanding the marketplace. Okay. Marketing is understanding the marketplace and putting your brand in the market position, right, to get attention and scale. So let's talk about the 4 marketing strategies. And I want you to take notes on this one, because this is probably going to change the trajectory of your business as it goes if you understand these things. So number 1 is defense strategy. This means that you are the company that's on top. You are the 1% on top of the mountain as a business in your industry. So when I think of defensive strategy, what brands are in defense mode? I think of the Apples. I think of the McDonald's. I think of the Nikes. I think of, the Coca-Colas. They are on top of the mountain. They are defending their title, right? They own the industry. They own the majority of the industry. That's what defense strategy is. So your strategy, you're going to be spending not messaging wise, but billions of dollars in marketing. Your strategy is pump and dump, pump that money into marketing, market everywhere and everywhere, right? So that's your defensive strategy. I just need to outspend everybody else and I'll stay on top. All right. The next strategy is offense strategy. Offense, you are not the top of the mountain, nor, this is where people get it mixed up, nor do you want to be top of the mountain. You're not trying to take top of the mountain. You're the alternative choice, right? You are the Pepsi, you are the Burger King, you are the Windows, you are the Samsung, right? You are the second choice. For those, you're not trying to take over the top. You want to collect all the money from the people that don't want to spend with the people on top. So your marketing strategy sounds like we make char grilled burgers and we're never frozen. That's your strategy when it comes to an offensive strategy. You want to stay in that second space and your desire is to keep it, right? Keep it second. You don't probably nearly spend as much as the top, but you don't have to. You just want to collect on the audience that doesn't want to spend with the top. So you want to be top of mind to them. All right. Third is my favorite, and I'm going to talk about this a lot more in this webinar, flanking strategy. That is a strategy that you see an open gap, right, where no one's looking. They're blinded to it. The people on top, the people that are secondary, they're just too big to see anything on the smaller scale. They're too big to see open gaps in their in their system, in their strategy, right? They're just so focused on themselves, right? They're so egotistical. No, they're focused on themselves and making money for themselves, so they don't focus on the flanking strategy, the flanking, company. I'll talk more about that. When I talk about flanking strategy, I think of the Ubers, right? They flanked on the taxi industry. I think of the Netflixes, which we're going to talk about shortly, right? I think of the Airbnb. I think of all, I think of the Elon Musks with Tesla, right? Those are flanking strategies in an industry that didn't see it coming. Okay. And then lastly, there's guerrilla strategy. There's a guerrilla strategy, meaning like, it's a $1 billion industry. I don't care who's on top. I don't care who's second. I don't care who's flanking. It's a $1 billion industry. I just need a piece of the pie. So their marketing strategies look like door-to-door flyers, right? They look like whatever it is. They'll make phone calls. They'll make 200 phone calls a day and get said no to 199 times. Their strategy, I see that a lot in fitness facilities. I see it a lot in solar panel companies. I see like things that happen locally. Those are guerrilla style tactics, which isn't bad, by the way, right? But that is the strategy that they're using, right? It's guerrilla warfare in marketing, right? So let's talk about how to be in demand now. Now that you know the strategies, right? And that's getting clear on no one wants to buy, right? What do I do now? Well, you got to understand the industry. You got to understand these different strategies that are being used in the market. And there are only 4 of them, right? So that's that. Now, let's talk about how do you be in demand? How do you be in demand? And this is how you do it. So I talked about flanking, okay, which is probably my favorite, my favorite marketing strategy on the planet. All right, because back in the day, let me share with you a flanking strategy. I don't know if anyone remembers this little company called Blockbuster, right? They took over the market. They were in many locations all across the states. They had physical retail locations, right? They had physical retail locations, but the problem was, and they were on top of the market. You know what I mean? The problem was, though, I don't know if about you, but I grew up in the 90s, right? I'm a late 80s baby, grew up in the 90s, and I would go to Blockbuster with my membership card. I would get so excited to go in the aisles and smell the popcorn brewing and all those things. And then I would go to a brand new VHS, movie that just came out, and I'd look in the back and it was empty. And I would go home with the tail between my legs because I came here to get and rent my all-time favorite movie that just came out. I'm talking about Hook, right? Hook, 1994, 1992. I would go there. I'm like, man, I'm ready to rent Hook for the 15th time this week. And I go there and there's nothing there. And I would have to go home and I'd have to be sad and I have to wait. They didn't even notify me. They didn't even have a system to notify me that it's in stock, right? That's how bad they were. All right. So what happened? Let me tell you what happened to Blockbuster. What happened to Blockbuster was that there's another company that was called Netflix, and they had a flanking strategy on Blockbuster. They understood the frustration of the everyday Blockbuster goer, that they would totally feel like, oh yeah, I don't have, they don't have the movie I want. So what did Netflix do in the very beginning? Right, the Netflix went ahead and said, hey, you don't have to deal with that no more. We're always gonna have your movie, and all you got to do is mail it back. Right, that's Netflix flank strategy. They don't have it, don't worry, you could pick it out online, we'll mail it to you, and all you got to do is mail it back. All right, that was the beginning of Netflix. Then they offered their company to Blockbuster and told Blockbuster, hey, Blockbuster, we'll sell we want to sell you our company for I think it was like 20 million or something like that. Blockbuster said, I'm way too big for you. Why would I want to purchase your company, your small rinky-dink company, for 20 million? Like, that's bogus. Well, let me tell you what. Netflix then grew and practiced and practiced and practiced, started listening to their audience, and they made an online streaming, platform. And now they don't just have the small end of the market; they have the whole entire market. In fact, they have a whole saying now: Netflix and chill. Right? Everybody compares all these live streaming platforms now to Netflix. Netflix is the godfather of live streaming on-demand service. Right? That's how we know it today. And they all started with understanding their audience. So number one, how to be in demand, you got to have proximity to your audience. You have to have proximity to your audience. Always ask questions. Always be asking questions to your audience. Hey, what did you think about the webinar? Hey, what do you think about marketing? Hey, what are you struggling in your business? Hey, how can I help, solve your biggest problems? You got to continuously create proximity, because you can successfully be in demand by listening to what your audience, your current clients are struggling with. And then you could utilize that and make a service out of what they're struggling with, and said, hey, like, I heard you struggled with, connecting with other businesses. Well, you know what? Like, we made a meetup every single week. We meet here, on Fridays at 3 p.m. Would love to see you there. Guess who's going to show up? Them. They're going to show up. All right. So give them what they need. I hope you're taking notes. Because the way you could be in demand is having proximity in your audience and giving them what they need. All right. How are we doing? Everyone's doing good. I'm almost done here. And then we'll leave it up to AMA. Ask me anything at the end of this. Okay. So this is the segment. Riches are in the niches. Don't dig ditches. Stop selling pitches. What does that mean, John? John, explain to me what that means. Let me explain it to you, okay? It's about being you. Just be you. You don't have to pretend to be like someone else that you're not. Maybe you were inspired by a Grant Cardone, or you were inspired by name the influencer that you're inspired, Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Maybe you were inspired by somebody else, but that doesn't mean that you have to use their same model. That doesn't mean you have to show up online just like them. That doesn't mean that you have to have a pretty IG, layout thing every single time because your favorite influencer is doing it. So you want to do it too. And you got to have a brand, whatever. I need you to understand this. If you're going to stand out in the market, you need to be you. If you want to find your niche and crush it, you need to be you completely. And you got to be patient. If it's just your first year in business, you got to be patient. If it's your 5th year in business and you're not hitting the outcomes that you're looking for, you got to be patient. Patience is going to drive your ROI. The compound effect of patience is success. Okay. So you got to be patient. You got to spend time in the gap. There is this gap where, that people feel, you could feel the healthy, it's a tension, but let me tell you, it's a healthy tension. Because maybe you just launched a business. Maybe you've been doing your business for the past year. Maybe it's been 2 years in your business. And the idea is you're not seeing the results that you want to see. You're fumbling. You feel like you kind of failed. You're not making the income that you want. You're not doing the things that you want to do. Maybe you're not working with the clients that you wish to work with. I just want you to take a deep breath and understand that you need to spend time in that gap, in that tension, because when you spend time in that gap, you're going to learn how to pivot and be resourceful and learn new things, learn new ways to message your brand, learn new creative things, right? When you have time in that gap, you're going to grow and learn things that your other competitors aren't doing because they are not spending time. They're throwing money, they're throwing all kinds of, you know, like diet pill solutions to their company. They're giving themselves aspirin when they need fruits and vegetables and a walk, right? And you've decided with your company and your business that you're going to take a walk, you're going to take a healthy growth, and you're going to make sure that you're going to scale. So spend time in that gap. Lastly, you don't need to be the expert. I think that when we launch businesses, when we do all these things, that we see ourselves and we want people to see us as the expert in our industry, that we have some sort of authority in our space. And let me tell you, if you've been working 10 years in your industry, awesome. I don't think you're an expert still. I think you're a practitioner, right? Because you continue to practice and become better and learn something new. There's a new circumstance, everything had to pivot the last 2 years in business. Nobody was an expert in the last 2 years, let me tell you, in business. Not even the $1 billion companies were ready for something that would happen like that. So let me tell you this, no one's an expert, but you've learned lessons, you have tools, you have techniques, you've solved some problems in the past. All right. You don't need to be the expert. You just need a process, and you need to trust the process, and you need to keep on going and growing. All right. So lastly, I told you about Rufio. Well, all that time, everything that I've learned in the process, I finally got to come full circle. Look at my face, by the way. My face is ridiculous. This is how ecstatic I was, meeting Dante Bosco, meeting Rufio, the person that inspired me to dive into filmmaking and photography and all those things, right? But I'm just telling you, what you need to hear now is have a goal, chase it, find your niche, have a process, understand the market, and listen to your audience. All right. One day your dreams are going to come true. One day those things are going to happen, but you got to focus on the gap, the time that you spend in your niche. You got to work the niche and learn. There is no shortcut to success. You got to take the stairs.